California, American Egg Association brings you the Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Very cool.
Welcome to all of the guests who are here on site, present, and anxious to go forward. And to all of our audio listeners out there in audio land, and I guess what would we call it? YouTube land. I guess that's the proper word for it. And so tonight is March 1st. The program is on the first, that's Francisco's coming in. On the first and third Tuesday of every month, we have this program, which will be starting in the next couple of weeks at 7 o'clock. And if you're in the local area and you'd like to join us, you're more than welcome to. The program goes for about an hour with a little bit of Kirtan on the front side and then some nice Prasadam on the back side. And we're going to do some fun things here. I've got some new ideas we're going to integrate into this program as we move forward. I got these really cool Bhagavad Gita. This is kind of like a tarot cards, but they're Bhagavad Gita cards. And so I was thinking during dinner what we can do is we can each take one and then you can each speak from your realization based on what the verse is. And you know, it's just a fun thing to do, help get everybody seeing things through the eyes of Bhagavad Gita.
That's great.
Okay, so we're going to do our usual couple of minutes of Hare Krishna mantra, which is the appropriate thing to do when we have a gathering like this. And for those of you who do not know the words, it'll be on the screen. And everybody get your instruments and follow the bouncing ball, as I say. Okay, here we go. And oh, cool. Somebody else. Okay. Start trying to get a guess. How you going? Come on in. Okay. Integrating these verses in is appropriate. I'll be part of the instructions to the Parsad. Namo Krishna Padaya Krishna Prasaya Sutale Srimanti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srinamane Namo Krishna Padaya Krishna Prasaya Sutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srinamane Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Prachagni Nidate Sundavati Vajjasvati Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Prachagni Nidate Sundavati Vajjasvati Jayati Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayata Radha Srivastari Gaurmatavi Jayati Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayata Radha Johnny, there's somebody at the door, and you should bring a couple chairs over here so people can sit. They don't want to sit on the floor. There you go, man. We are anxious tonight. Very good. Dasa's on fire. All right, thank you all for coming, and thank you all for joining in. And as what is this to say? It's a really good show tonight. Something like that. Okay. There we go. Thank you all for being here. So, we're going to have a little open discussion here before we get into the Sanskrit thing. And before we do, let's do this and decide. So let's do the usual question here. Who knows what the topic is tonight?
Judging.
That's
Or
part
not.
of it.
To judge or not to judge.
There's a big clue on the screen for everybody. Okay. The topic for tonight is called the myth of non-judgment. And I think everybody, especially if we all live here in OJAI, have heard this comment frequently. I hear it all the time. And I suspect all of you are familiar with it too, where you go places or something happens and somebody says, "But don't be so judgmental." Is everybody familiar with this? It's really become a very popular mantra nowadays. So the thing is there's a proper application of judgment and there's an improper application of judgment. So the first thing we want to establish is what is really a proper application of judgment. And this is really kind of where this started from, but I think it's morphed into something much more pervasive than that. And we're going to talk about both sides of this. So for example, if you are on a train and you're observing, there was a story, I'll put it in the story format. There's a man sitting on the train and he's watching somebody, and a mother with their two children are on the train, and the children, like a subway or something like that, and the children are just tearing it up, and they're just running all over the train, and they're bothering people, and they're jumping up and down, and they're being kids. And you're kind of sitting there, and you're trying to get to your office, and you're kind of like, you got important things you're trying to get done, and you're just wishing for a little peace, and you're sitting there just going, man, I wish that woman would just discipline these kids. And they've got this thought going through their head. And it goes on for a while, and finally the man gets to a point where he says, I just can't take it anymore. I got to say something to this woman. And so he goes over to her and he says, woman, your kids are just tearing up the train here. They're just being really out of control, and you really ought to discipline them and teach them to be a little respectful of the other people that are sitting on the train. And the mother turns to him, she goes, oh yeah, oh yes, you're absolutely right. I'm just deeply in thought right now, trying to tell them that we're on the way to the hospital because their father just died. Okay, that's a good time to not be judgmental. Okay, so we want to acknowledge that right up front, that's an appropriate time to maybe, before he goes over there and rips into the woman about not disciplining her kids, maybe approach it from a slightly different angle and say, ma'am, is there something I can do to help? Maybe entertain your kids while the train's going. Approach it slightly differently. So that's the good application of what it means to be non-judgmental. But frequently, what I find is that the non-judgment, the reason why we call it the myth of non-judgment, is because every moment of your life, you are having to make a choice. Most of you here, obviously all of you here tonight, made the choice to be here instead of off listening to the radio about who's winning the national nomination for the presidency, for example, because apparently it's on tonight. People might just decide, I don't feel like going over bills, I'm just going to listen to radio, which you can really do anytime you want. You can certainly find out who's the presidential nominees for tomorrow. By tomorrow, the news, when you get home and turn the radio on, you'll know. So people are making judgments at every moment. And the question is, what are you making those decisions based on? Are they based on what you read in the newspaper? Or are they based on what you heard on the radio? Are they based on what your mother told you when you were 10 years old? Or are they based on, what your priest told you when you were, whenever you went the last time you went to see a priest? Are they based on what you find out when you come here, which hopefully is not necessarily my opinion? Sometimes I get criticized that I go to Robert's house, it's always his opinion. No. If I'm doing my job right, and we'll see later tonight, we're going to get into it, It's not really my opinion. I'm just trying to be sort of the postman here. I'm trying to deliver what has been handed down historically for thousands of years, many generations, which is the Vedic opinion, which basically, when you hear the Vedic opinion, basically what you're hearing is Krishna's opinion. And if it's not Krishna's opinion, then it's not the Vedic opinion, because Krishna says, Vedais cha saviraham eva vedo, Vedanta vit veda krit eva chaham, which means I am the compiler of the Vedas, I am the knower of the Vedas, and I am the purpose of the Vedas. So he's taking full responsibility. It's right there in the Bhagavad Gita. So, and what is the purpose of the Vedas? To understand what's going on and to help you make better choices. So this is kind of a classic thing, what we got on the screen here. We've all heard, I try to create little visuals here when we put the newsletter out. We've all heard of taking the upper road or the high road. And generally that means, like it says here, frequently the high road is usually a little more difficult, which is why frequently we fall into kind of just being lazy and just, I don't feel like doing the right thing, I'll just do the easy thing. But there is a transcendental payoff if you do the high thing, you do the right thing, and you actually feel better about yourself, and things will become revealed to you, and you'll find your life moving a little bit more smoothly. So that's what we're trying to illustrate here. And the qualities are on each side of this, lust, anger, and greed. That's in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, text 21, where Arjuna is saying, well, why is all this going on? Why are we having so much trouble? And Krishna says, Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajaguna, Samumbhava, that it is lust only, my dear Arjuna, which is causing all this confusion. And later he says that, later the other verse here is, these three things, lust, anger, and greed, are the all-devouring sinful enemies of this world, which keep us entangled and keep us trapped in the world-to-world daily affairs. Whereas it also says, last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and this concept of sacrifice, charity, penance, and sacrifice, which are also referred to as generosity, humility, and austerity. Those three things are constantly being bounced back and forth. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there's places where Krishna's giving Arjuna instruction, and he's saying some people take the renounced path. And certainly we know that. Everybody knows about the renounced yogis in the Himalaya mountains, and they're just renouncing life. And they're running around naked, and they do whatever they do. They do their austerities, and they're just saying, I don't have anything to do with the world. I'm renouncing it all. I'm just going to do whatever I'm going to do.
That's not renunciation.
Well, but there's some people, they consider that renunciation.
Oh, well.
So, and they're trying to forcefully separate themselves from the entanglement in the material world. Of course, they have their own politics in the Himalaya mountains too. The yogis are deciding which one's going to get the better ashes to spread on his body or whatever. They have their own, because where there's people interfacing, there's always going to be a certain degree of politics. So, you can't really mechanically, to really renounce is what's described in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where you go to the forest and you just basically shut down your senses and you block out everything that's going on and you focus on the third eye and you meditate on the Brahman. And you literally separate yourself from any sort of stimulation, like we said many, many times, food, entertainment, the opposite sex, music, the baseball game. You don't care about any of that. And so this is one of the paths that's being described. So Arjuna is asking, he's saying, well, but I can't do that. That's very difficult. He actually uses the word, it's more difficult to do that than to control the wind. Even though it's been explained very nicely to Arjuna by Krishna, Arjuna is saying, I'm not capable of doing that. And so that other path is being presented, which is the path of Bhakti Yoga. And that's the path where later in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is asking for clarification. And there's many places in the Gita where it's being presented and then it's being restated again so that it's really clear. In the beginning of Bhagavad chapter 18, he says, so first you tell me that renunciation, but then you're telling me that charity, penance, and austerity should not be given up. Should they be given up or should they not be given up? He's specifically asking this question. And Krishna says very clearly, he says, no, charity, penance, and austerity should not be given up. They should be maintained. Okay, so the question is, so that now that we've done that, let's move on here to the Sanskrit. So I want the verse I picked tonight is this whole concept of the myth of non-judgment. We all have to make decisions. The question is, what are we making those decisions on? And I'm always bringing this up in this class because we all have a sense of how we're conditioned. And most people that come to this program have already kind of gotten past that point where they know we're being conditioned. We're being conditioned by the media, particularly in the Western world. And now, probably one of the biggest things is the whole YouTube and the internet. It's just like, holy smokes, if you don't know anything, just Google it and you'll know it tomorrow, or you'll know it right away. And there's people, I think it's gotten so bad now. I know some of my friends and associates who've been doing, what do they call it, Facebook for the last 3 or 4 years. They're getting to the point where they're just saying, I'm turning it off. I've had enough. I'm turning off Facebook. I'm turning off my cell phone. I want to like diverse myself from the whole like plugged in electronic media, right? Because why? Because it's influencing their consciousness. So, and of course, depending on how you use Facebook, if you go to the devotee websites and you hear nice lectures from the devotees, then that would be very positive use. But there's also a whole lot of really ugly, nasty stuff going on out there. You can also put that in your conscience, and then you'll become influenced by that. So, the question is, how are you being conditioned? And another big myth that's out there is people seem to think, this is something that comes up in another local discussion group I go to here on Wednesdays, but people seem to think that they can avoid conditioning if they become conscious of it. But it doesn't work. We're all being conditioned. So the question is, if you can't stop it, then are we eternally trapped by it? What's the alternative? Does anybody know what the alternative? First of all, does anybody believe they can stop conditioning? Does anybody really believe that?
Choose conditioning.
Well, you choose what you're going to be conditioned by. But does anybody?
No, you don't. When you're a child, you're conditioned without any choice.
When you're a child, that's right. When you're a child, but when you get older, when you become an adult, you can choose, right?
But that childhood conditioning lasts your whole life.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
it lasts as long as you allow it to
does.
condition you. What's that?
I think the childhood conditioning and brainwashing sits there forever.
It can, and I will grant you, it can be very difficult to change it. But
There's a lot of fear.
people in the
awareness, then
What's that?
then you can choose whether it's good or bad,
Exactly.
or effective or
What
not.
is your name?
I've got it here somewhere. Sean.
Sean. Okay, thank you, Sean. Yeah, so that's right. That's, by the way, that's kind of what the bottom line is for most therapy, whether you do it publicly or whether you do it privately or you do it in groups or you do it with a personal therapist or even a priest, a minister or whatever, is to find out why you're doing what you're doing and where did that come from. And frequently, you're right, it's usually something that's been sort of pumped in your head as a kid. And for a lot of people, if they can realize that and understand that, then they can go, well, wait a minute. That they call it coping mechanisms. When you're a little kid, if your parents are beating you because they're drunks or alcoholics or drug users or something like that, then yeah, it can be a very, very painful childhood. And you might have a certain thing of what they refer to as coping mechanisms to avoid that. But when you get older, your parents are not necessarily around anymore, or they're certainly not in your day-to-day life. You probably moved on, you have your own place. So you say, well, I don't need to keep those coping mechanisms anymore. And that's becoming aware. So what the issue is, so that would be changing your conditioning. You don't have to run under the house because your parents are having a fight and you're terrified. You don't need to do that anymore, or whatever your solution is. So the whole point of the Krishna conscious movement is to consciously change your conditioning to something that's very positive.
That would be changing your perceptions too.
Changing your perceptions, right. So therefore in the Bhagavad Gita, it's referred to as Shastra Chakshu. Shastra meaning scripture, Chakshu means seen through the eyes of. So frequently you heard devotees say Shastra Chakshu. In fact, there's a point in the Bhagavad Gita where Arjuna is asking Krishna to kind of show him his stuff, where he says in the 11th chapter, he says, hey, I kind of accept that you're the Supreme Lord, but maybe other people are not so convinced, and I kind of like this, give me some proof here. And that's where Krishna says, okay, I'm going to show you my divine, universal form here. But you're not equipped to understand this or see it the way you are right now. So I'm going to give you divine eyes. It's actually stated in the Bible. I'm going to give you divine eyes so you can see this. And whoa, and then the whole universal form comes out. Okay, so what I did for the discussion tonight is this is chapter 2, text 7. We're going to work this backwards. We're going to do a little Sanskrit here. And then we're going to see where we go with this and try to fold this into when the myth of non-judgment, we're making judgments at every moment. The question is, what are we basing those judgments on? How are we making those decisions? And a lot of people like this concept of don't be judgmental, and I say this a little facetiously, but there's a lot of truth in it too. Frequently people, like for example, if I have a addiction to drink alcohol or have an alcoholic problem, and I have an associate that maybe they don't have an alcoholic problem, but they really like smoking grass, okay? So it works out real convenience. It's like, well, I'll tell you what, I won't criticize you for you smoking pot if you don't criticize me for my liquor. And so it's a feel-good sort of a philosophy, which is I don't be judgmental of you, you don't be judgmental of me. And another thing, just to get it on the record, for all the people that immediately go to the Bible that says, judge not that ye be judged. Yes, that is in the Bible, but if you actually read that whole section of the Bible, the next thing immediately after that, it talks about how take the log out of your own eye before you criticize the splinter in your brother's eye. And so what's really being stated there is, until you get your own act cleaned up, don't be so quick to jump down other people's throat. And we find, in fact, if a person does have an alcoholic problem or a drug problem, and when they do finally get that part of their life cleaned up, that those people are sometimes the most effective people to help the other ones who, in fact, are still having that problem. Right? That's what a lot of the drug counselors were addicts at one point, and they somehow pull them, and they're the most capable of seeing all of the, the denial and the games that go on, and they can stop it. And they're being judgmental. They're saying, no, I know what you're doing because I used to do it too. So let's get that out of the way too. Okay, so here we go. This is Bhagavad Gita. So what we're going to do here is we're coming to a point, and this is kind of an AA evening, I guess you could say, in the sense, although I don't want to turn into that. But what the point here, there's a certain degree of analogy here, that what's happening in this verse is that Arjuna's kind of come to a point, it's right at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, where he's about to go into this battle, and he's going, whoa, I see all my brothers and relatives and aunts and uncles and friends, and I don't know if I want to do this. I am really confused, Krishna. So let's read this together. Or I'll say it and you repeat. Now I'm confused about my duty.
Now I'm confused about my duty.
And I've lost all composure because of miserly weakness.
And I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness.
In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me,
In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me
for certain what is best for me.
for certain what is best for me.
Now I am your disciple,
Now I am your disciple,
and a soul surrendered unto you.
and a soul surrendered to you.
Please instruct me.
Please instruct me.
Okay. Does this sound like the first stage of the AA 12 steps? Right? This is it right here. Arjuna is saying, I can't handle it anymore. It's overwhelming. My life is out of control. I don't know what to do. I need help. Please instruct me. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he's saying at this point in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? And the important reason to this is because until we get to a point in our own sort of life where we kind of go, what's been happening in the past, it just isn't working anymore. I'm getting in too many conflicts. I'm losing too many jobs. Whatever we all have our little demons that are running around. Whatever they are, if it's not working for you, then it's time to say it ain't working. It's not working. I need to do something differently, or expect more of the same. Like they say with the crazy things, keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So the question is, well, what is the different thing you should be doing? So we're hoping you'll consider some of the things that Arjuna is being taught to by Krishna. Okay, so let's go up here real quickly here. Let's go see what the Sanskrit is. I don't know this verse, so I'm gonna. It looks like a good one. I'm gonna be fumbling my way through it with you guys. So let's do it together. Karpanya, of miserliness, dosha, by the weakness, upahata, being afflicted, swabhava, characteristics, Chami, I'm asking, Tvam, unto you, Dharma, religion, Sammuddha, bewildered, Chaita, in the heart, Yat,
Yat.
Yeah.
What?
What?
Shreya.
Shreya.
All good.
All good.
Syat.
Yat.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Nishchitam.
Nishchitam.
Confidentiality.
Confidentiality.
Confidently. Okay. Buhi.
Ruhi.
Tell.
Tell.
Tat.
Tat.
That.
That.
May.
May.
Unto me.
Unto me.
Shishya.
Shishya.
Disciple.
Disciple.
Te.
Te.
Your.
Your.
Aham.
Aham.
I am.
I am.
Sadi.
Sadi.
Just instruct.
Just instruct.
Mum.
Mum.
Me.
Me.
Tvam.
Twam.
Unto you.
Unto you.
Prapanam.
Prapanam.
Surrender.
Surrender.
Okay. Okay, let's see if we can get through.
Can you make it bigger, Mishra?
Oh, I probably can, yeah. Okay. All right, is that a little better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if we can do this. Karpanya.
Karpanya.
Doshapahata.
Doshapahata.
Swabhava.
Swabhava.
Karpanya doshapataha. Swabhava.
Karpanya doshapahata. Swabhava.
Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava.
Karpanya doshapahata. Swabhava.
I'm learning this with you, so I'm stumbling. Karpanya dosha pahata swabhava.
Karpanya doshapahata. Swabhava.
Okay, Prichami.
Prichami.
Tvam.
Twam.
Dharma.
Dharma.
Samuda.
Samuda.
Cheta.
Cheta.
Prichtami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Okay. Prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Yach.
Yach.
Shreya.
Shreya.
Syan.
Syan.
Nishchitam.
Nishchitam.
Ruhi.
Ruhi.
Tan.
Tan.
Me.
Me.
Yat Shreya Syan Nishchitam Bruhi Tan Me.
Yat Shreya Syan Nishchitam Bruhi Tan Me.
Yat Shreya Swan Nishchitam Bruti Tan Me.
Yat Shreya Syan Nishchitam Bruhi Tan Me.
Shishya.
Shishya.
Check it. Shishyas.
Shishya.
Te.
Te.
Hum.
Hum.
Sadi.
Shadi.
Mum.
Mum.
Tvam.
Tvam.
Prapanam.
Prapanam.
Sisyate hum sadi mum tvam prapanam.
Sisyate hum sadi mum tvam prapanam.
Good. Sisyahite hum sadi mum pratam prapanam.
Sisyate hum sadi mum tvam prapanam.
It's a lot of word letters bumbling around in a mouth. It's okay. Okay, let's see if we can go through it together. Karpanya dosho pahaswa bhava.
Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava.
Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava.
Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava.
Prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Yatstrena syan nishtitam bruti tan me.
Yatshreya syan nishtitam bruhi tan me.
Sisyaste ham sadi mam tvam prapanam.
Sisyaste mam sadi mam tvam prapanam.
Karpanya dosho parata svabhava.
Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava.
Prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Yatstreya syan nishtitam bruhi tan me.
Yatshreya syan nishtitam bruhi tan me.
Sisyate ham sadi mam tvam prapanam.
Sisyaste ham sadi mam tvam prapanam.
Okay, does anybody want to try it?
Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava.
Karpanya dosho parhata svabhava.
Prichami tvam dharma samudachita.
Prichami tvam dharma samuda cheta.
Yatshreya syan Gitam bruhi tanme.
Yashreyasya bruhitan me.
Sisyaste ham sadimam tvam prapanam.
Sisyaste hamsadimam tvam prapanam. Good. Yeah, see, notice how he broke it up in like 2 or 3 syllables, or 2 or 3 letters. I mean, that's the way to attack these things.
Slow.
Yeah, slow. You don't have to go fast. You can take it at whatever speed you want. Anybody else want to try? Robert's got the eye there. Do it if you want to do it.
Karpanya dosha pahata swabhavaha.
Karpanya doshopahata svabha.
Prichami tvam dharma samuda chetaha.
Prichami tam dharma samuda cheta.
Yastreyasya nichtitam bruhi tanme.
Yatsyasan istitam bruhitan me.
Sisyaste ham sadimam tvam prapanam.
Sisyahitam sadimam tvam prapanam. Good. Very good. You're starting to get it.
Bravo.
Anybody else before we move ahead here? I'm not going to twist anybody's arms. Okay, so
That's a
there
hard
we go. Yes? No? Anybody else? Okay, here we go. So, again, at this point in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is, the first chapter is all about who are all these people that are here. There's a long list, Duryodhana and Drishadumna and Draupadi and Rukmi, and all these people are out there ready to go at it. His brother Yudhisthira, the 5 Pandavas, Bhishma, these are tremendously heroic people. And they've come together in this moment in history to kind of like, okay, something's got to get done here, because Duryodhana is just being a real brat. And so Arjuna, who is Krishna's dear friend, is sort of on the front line, and he's saying, I don't know if I can deal with this. And he's saying, now I'm confused about my duty, and I've lost all composure. And believe me, Arjuna doesn't lose composure. This guy has taken on everything you could possibly imagine, and he's done it very heroically. And now he's come to a point in his life where he's going, whoa, I don't know if I can deal with this. I've lost all composure because of miserly weakness. Miserly means, when you hear miserly in the Sanskrit set and these Vedic kind of contexts, it means I'm thinking about myself now. I don't care about my duty. I don't care about what I'm supposed to do. Remember, we're making a decision here. He's selfish, miserly. I'm going to do what I want to do, Krishna. That's what I'm thinking right now. I don't care about Dharma. I don't care about what you want me to do. I don't want to do this. I think what you're asking me to do is way over the line, and I'm saying I'm really confused about this. But the thing is, Arjuna's got enough composure left to say, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Krishna, you've been a pretty good, if you read the Mahabharata and you read what's been going on through the whole Mahabharata, Krishna's always bailing out the Pandavas. And the Pandavas know, to a certain extent, although Arjuna doesn't really fully know it until after the universal form has been revealed, he knows that Krishna is his well-wisher. So he's saying, look, I need some help here. Just like some of us times, we go to friends, we go to dear friends, hey, I'm overwhelmed by something. What would you do in a situation like this? So he says that, in this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain, what is the best thing for me right now? My head is all clogged up. I don't know what's the right thing. Now I am your disciple. And this is a really important part here. He's not just saying, hey, buddy, tell me what you're saying. And I may listen to it, but, if I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. No, he's actually, when he says this, I am your disciple, he's saying, I'm going to do what you tell me to do. He's going a little further than just, tell me what you think, and if I like it, I'll do it. No, he's saying, yeah, I'm kind of trusting you. I'm your disciple. I'm surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Tell me what to do. It's powerful. Okay, so let's see what it says here in the purport. Prabhupada gives us. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activity is a source of perplexity for everyone. I don't think anybody will disagree with that, the way the state of the world is right now. Everything's a mess, okay? In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get freed from the perplexities of life, which happen without our desire. They're like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants a fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. Okay, what are the miseries of life? Does anybody want to?
Decrepitude.
Attachment.
Well, there's 3 specifically. Oh no, excuse me, there's 4.
Or old age, decrepitude, disease, and death.
Casey's real close. Birth, disease, death, or disease, old age, and then death. That's the proper order. Birth, right? We take born. We're born. Being born is not fun. In case you didn't remember, we all came out screaming. Okay, so being born is not fun. Certainly, disease is not fun, right? If you get sick, nobody's happy when they're sick. Old age, we're all moving towards old age, regardless of we like it or not. It's happening, right? And certainly, death isn't any fun either. So those are the things that are being referred to here. The perplexity, to understand the science solution, in order to solve the perplexities of life. And what are the other 3 which are kind of tied to this? Does anybody remember those? Adhyatmic, adhidaivic, adhibautic. Does anybody remember what those mean?
No.
Okay. Adhyatmic are the miseries of the soul. Adhidaivic meaning miseries from, adhidaivic are the miseries from the demigods. Natural disasters such as tsunamis and hurricanes and wildfires in California. And nobody's really responsible. They just happen. It's nature. Think of that as nature. Think of adhyatmic, adhidaivic, adhibotic. Miseries from the body, right? So if you get a cold, the mind can also create miseries. Your own mind. Some people are so tortured by their own mind, they end themselves. That's a form of torture. That's a form of misery. Or it could just be, you get a cold, or you get the itches, or you get a stomachache. Eat too much prasadam, and hopefully you won't get a stomachache. Or you just eat something that's not appropriate, or something that's not good for you. Okay. And then adhyatmic are these other adhyatmics, the ones individual adhibotic, other living entities. What are examples of other living entities?
Animals?
Yes, animals can come eat you. Right?
Yes.
They can bite. If you go on a camping, they'll eat your body with mosquitoes. Will bug. You'll go out for a wonderful weekend and have a camp out. The mosquitoes will destroy it. You get eaten alive by the mosquitoes, as they say. Okay.
Corruption in the government.
The corruption in the government. Other living entities. They're hired raising your taxes, and you're going, hey, what? Come on, back off. Or your landlord, or your boss, right? Or your neighbor, if you got a crappy neighbor.
Or your husband or your wife.
Or your husband or wife, if they're, in the world today, that can also be a big source of misery. Or your children, right? Other living entities. So the material world is not a very pleasant place. So that's what's being referred to here. These are the perplexities, and there is a scientific solution to these things. And that's what the whole Krishna conscious philosophy is about, is this scientific solution. One must approach, but you've got to find somebody who knows this science. So that's where the bona fide spiritual master comes in. He's supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purpose of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihat Aryana Upanishad 3:8-10, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yova itat asagram gargya avinti vasamat loka prati sa kripana. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human and who thus quits the world like the cats and dogs without understanding the science of self-realization. So this is the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada's kind of really laying down, we've talked about this a lot here, the foundation of what the difference is between a human being and an animal. Because what are the animals interested in? Everybody remember? What are the animals interested in?
Eating, sex.
Food.
Yeah. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Right?
That's not so different from people.
That's right. That's the problem. If you are only focusing on solving those 4 problems, then you're basically not doing any more than the animals. And therefore the Sanskrit tradition or the Vedic tradition, they have a word for that. It's called Dvipada Pashu. You are a 2-legged animal. That's what it means. Dvi meaning 2, pada meaning foot, pashu meaning animal. You are no better than a 2-legged animal. You have a brain to discuss and to figure out and analyze and understand the things that we're talking about right now. that you're not in a very good situation in this body, in this world. The animals are too busy caught up on eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But the human form of life, you actually have the ability to ask the question, wait a minute, we do. There's got to be more than this. Okay, well, what is it? Well, you got to find the right people to ask that question to.
So what
Okay.
is the purpose of life that it refers to?
The purpose of life is to get out of this situation of being reborn into a body which is suffering from birth, death, disease, and old age. And the miseries that we just talked about, adioptic, adidivic, and adigotic misery.
And the way out of that misery is to merge with the light.
And not to merge, the way out of this is to actually restore your relationship with Krishna, and then through that relationship and through that love, you will then actually be able to enter back into the spiritual world, which is where we really belong. And in fact, we are in the minority. The majority of living entities are in the spiritual world. Just like the majority of the people in the world today are not at Folsom Prison. Those are the people who did something wrong. So we're in the material world. We did something wrong. And what do we do wrong? We got this idea in our head that we can be as good as God. He said, okay, great. Go for it. Have a good time. See how it works out for you. And just the problem is that the whole world's full of other people thinking the same thing. Robert.
I mean, you probably could say that if you were to just merge with the Brahman or merge with the infinite, merge with the light,
Yeah.
it actually is not being self-realized.
Well, there is a place for that. We acknowledge that there's people who can do that. The problem with that is that the nature of the soul is that it's active, right? It's Satchit Ananda Vigraha. It has purpose, it has knowledge, it has bliss, and it has form. That is the nature of your soul. That's given in the Brahma Samhita. We all have part and parcel of Krishna. He's describing Krishna, Govinda, as Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Okay, Anadir Adir Govindam Sarvakarna Karnam. That he is the cause of all causes, and he is the source of everything. And his quality is to be eternally blissful, full of knowledge, full and has transcendental form. Okay, so we have that too. So if you try to wipe that out and just go and people know I always have this little cliche. If you want to enjoy just merging with the light, then fine, go in the closet and sit there and study the light bulb until you get sick of it. Because that's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the spiritual world, and you're going to be in the light. There's not going to be anybody else there. There's not going to be any qualities. And the soul's going to go, what am I going to do now? This is not satisfying. Satisfaction comes through relationship, through exchange. And that's, any therapist will tell you that. Any person who understands the science of people and how we work and how we behave. And also, that's where you'll get your realization. That's where you get your learning. If you just sit in a closet, you're going to sit there until you finally go, this isn't working too well. Okay, so let's finish what we're doing here. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity. We can utilize it for the solving the problems of life. This is the key right here. We have a human form of life, which means we have a human brain, which we have intelligence, mind intelligence, and false ego. Those things we got to deal with, which, by the way, the Bhagavad Gita refers to as subtle material elements. Mind, intelligence, and false ego are the subtle material elements, okay? The soul is highest of all. So we should utilize our mind and our intelligence, and ultimately our false ego should be transformed into our real ego being that I'm a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me get back into the game here, and instead of being this sort of independent person. Okay, so that's what he's referring to, human form of life. We have the opportunity to do this. It's a valuable asset for the living entity. We then utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. And what does miser mean in the Vedic text? Selfish. I don't care. I want to do what's like a little bratty kid. I don't care. I want to do what I want to do. Right? Did you want to say something?
So I just want to make a comment still on, I think it all connects, is, all these meditators that I've seen, I've meditated for over 25 years, advanced form meditation.
Yeah.
A long time. All these meditators, all kinds of groups, whether it's the Amma groups or whatever
it's the end thing now. It's the end
Well,
thing.
what I see is that all those meditators, though they want to merge with the light, and it's all good, and it does create a nice sattvic atmosphere, good atmosphere and all that, it's still a desire. It's still a desire.
Well, more importantly, ask the people that are doing that. And I don't, like you said, there's all different flavors and varieties of people doing it. And you ask them, why are you doing that? Now, without necessarily overly picking on the TM people, I mean, there is something I respect about the people that are at least trying to improve their life. We've got to give them that. Okay, they may not really understand where the curves are and where the dead ends are and stuff. But we got to give them the fact that they're at least trying. They're on to something, okay? But the thing is, you ask the TM people, because I know when I got involved with that when I was in college 40 years ago, the way it was advertised was, you'll find yourself doing your job much better, and you'll be able to have more peace in your life, and you will be able to digest your food better, and you'll just find everything goes much better for you. And that's probably true. Okay, you're just basically making it much easier to be entangled in the material world. Because it's not going to get you out of the material world. It'll just make life in the material world a little less troublesome, which creates the illusion that it's maybe not so bad, which gives you less incentive to get out.
But it's also a way to control the mind.
It can be, yes.
And the
I'm
mind
saying
can be the worst demon.
that's right. And actually, what happens if people take that seriously, and there's many devotees who come to our movement who've done the whole TM thing, and they went right to the top, and they finally got to the point where they said, okay, Ben, they're done that, now what? And I know one devotee in particular who he had the opportunity to actually talk to Mahesh Yogi about it. And he said, well, if you want to go further, go to Bhaktivinoda Swami, he'll give you the rest of it. And in that way, he was doing us a service. He was being honest and serving us that way.
Just to conclude, because even Prabhupada would say, the desire for liberation is a point that we can go beyond that.
Right, because
And that's what
ultimately,
we can do.
that's right. In the beginning, desire for liberation is an important impetus to finally start dealing with, get out of denial. Life is not necessarily fun. Even if it's going well for you, you still got to deal with birth, death, disease, and old age. Okay, no matter how nice it is, at some point, the Krishna says, even the people, it says the people who deny me, I get them at the end because time is going to eat them alive. Literally, right? He says they'll understand it when they come to the moment of death. That's when they'll realize, oh man, what did I do here? I missed another opportunity. Hopefully, if they're not completely in the mode of ignorance. Okay, let me get through this because we're almost done here. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. Ya etad aksharan gargi vidit spasyama loka trati sabrahmana. This is a repeat of the verse that we read above. Okay, last paragraph, I believe. The Kripanas, it's interesting, Kripana are the miserly or the selfish people, waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. It doesn't mean, this is not an excuse to abandon your family responsibilities or even your country responsibility, but notice it's overly affectionate. You just get buried in that stuff. So you have to be responsible. You have to do your duty to family, society, and country.
Get all caught up in politics.
Don't lose track of that. By the way, this is the reason why householder life is kind of a more, we call the razor's edge, because it's easier to fall in. The affection of the children and everything, it's real easy to get in it. You got to deal with them and you got to be affectionate to them, but you have to do it with a certain degree of, this is my job and my duty, but I'm not going to completely fall into that hole. In fact, they refer to householder life as a dark well. When you fall in the hole, it's like, oh, yeah, how am I going to climb out of this? So unless you're really careful, that's what happens, okay? In the material conception of life. One is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and other members on the basis of skin disease, right? This Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of the children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definitive solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks, right? Sometimes we do that. We're just kicking around with our friends. And then if we're serious about a situation, we say, no, this is serious. I really want to go on a deeper level here. I want to talk to you in a really, that's what he's saying to Krishna. He's saying, no, Krishna, you and I have been kicking around for a while, but now I got a serious thing I want to talk to you about. And that's what he's saying here. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious. And now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master. In the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself, and yet foolish, mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without. And one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so we're pretty much done, but I want to show, just to kind of like close the loop here. So we're at the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is saying, help, 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 right? Step one of the 12-step process. So the question is, well, how did the story end? Well, we all kind of know how it ended, but here's specifically how it ended right here. Let's go to this verse. I'm getting used to using some new tools on here. Now get this. This is kind of cool. So here, this is the end of the Bhagavad Gita. And let's see here. I don't know this verse either. But so Krishna says, Iti te jnanam akale tam gulya gulya taram maya vrimshrasyad asesana yat cheteshti tatakuru. Okay? And so what is he saying to him? Remember now, this is chapter 18. Look up here at the corner, where they're practically the end of the Bhagavad Gita. I think it's chapter 18, text 67 is the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. These are like the last 3 or 4 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. And what is Krishna saying to him? He's saying, I have thus explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Because Arjuna is saying, hey, I want the real sauce. I want to know what's going on here. I want to know more than as a friend. You are the Supreme Lord. You are my spiritual master. I want to know the dirty, ugly truth, what's going on here. So Krishna's confirming. He said, I've explained to you knowledge still more confidential than most people even get around to asking. Deliberate on this fully, and then what? And then do what you wish to do. He's not saying you better do it. He's not saying, all through the Gita, he's saying, look, these are what the fools do. These are what the wise people do. These are what the ignorant people do. These are what the people in the mode of goodness do. There's whole chapters about the goodness, passion, and ignorance. The important thing here is that Krishna always gives us the free will to make a choice. Nobody's putting a gun to our head. And whatever choice we make, he says, okay, it's your choice. Go for it. And what happens at that point, if we surrender, then Krishna personally intervenes as a friend, just like the loving father would normally intervene. And if it's like the prodigal son story. We all know that from the Bible. You say, okay, I want to go in. Okay, go ahead. Have at it. And when you find out where that leads, maybe you'll come back and realize that wasn't such a good idea. Robert.
So, the whole idea in the other verse and such was to go what do we do to get beyond the perplexities of life, right?
Right.
Because everything will confound us in all kinds of respects.
It's designed that way.
Everything will confound us in all kinds of ways, even the desire for liberation.
But eventually that becomes on you, that you lose the desire for that too.
Right. So like I'm just like I'm going back. What does this mean to me? Like, in other words, well, I could go off and do TM, or I could follow this path or do this yoga to try to get beyond these perplexities of life that are causing me a problem, right? But why is it that this is maybe one of the best ways to go?
Because like you just said it yourself, the thing is, if liberation is your goal, then that's what you're focusing on. But liberation in and of itself is really, you can be liberated in the Brahmajyoti. You can liberate it by the white light. That's what those people are chasing after. But we've already stated that the problem with that is that the soul is active. And so when you actually get tuned into the Krishna conscious process and you realize you actually have a relationship with the Supreme Lord, just as we all have relationships in this room, the difference is the relationships we have with this room, we all have relationships with other people who have other issues, right? And that's where we run into problems. The people that we call our friends are usually people who are at least somewhat on the same sheet of music that we're on. And when people we no longer have friends with, we realize, oh, wait a minute, they're like, I don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to do what they're doing. Okay? But the thing is, the relationship with God is it's a perfect relationship. He's the one who's waiting for us to clean up our act. Just like we all know people who might be involved in things that are really kind of low class or maybe even destructive, self-destructive. If anybody knows people who have some serious drug addictions, hopefully all of us here know, and I don't want to get near that. right? And what are we doing? We're praying, oh, please give up the heavy drugs, please. I really want to be your friend, but as long as you're doing that, I'm sorry, I've got to, you're, what's the word they use nowadays? You're a toxic personality, right? And literally, in that case, you're literally a toxic personality. It's used in other connotations. But that's the serious, literal one, okay? But when that person finally says what step one of the 12 steps, look, buddy, you're right. This drug I'm taking isn't doing me any good. Would you help me? Then most people will say, yeah, I'll help you, but you got to stop that. Let's go get some counseling. Let's go to the what is it? Alcoholics Anonymous. Let's go therapy. Whatever it is, there's all these different programs. If you want to get help, there's people ready to help you. But you have, what do they say? It's the AA thing, they say, unless you're there on your own volition, most people don't take you seriously. Because the courts will order you to go. But if the courts are ordering you to go, then you haven't taken the first step. And it's the same way in the spiritual world. I mean, people have a million reasons why they don't want to surrender. Because they think it's not going to give them something. They think, what do you hear? Surrender. Oh, I mean, I got to follow rules? Oh my God, I don't want to follow any rules. But those rules are to help you. If you don't have rules in traffic, go to India. You want to see no rules in traffic? Go to India. And everybody who comes back from India will tell you it scares the buggers out of them. Because the cars are, put the stoplights up. Believe me, I want the rules. And frankly, the same thing's true, and believe me, I've had a lot of experience with the building department here in Ventura, which is considered to be one of the most strict building departments in practically all the United States. And it can be exasperating, and I do think it's gotten a little bit out of control. But in the end, they're really making it safer for all of us, because you don't want somebody putting up a house and doing it really cheaply, and then somebody buys a house and the roof falls in because nobody took the time to make sure it was going to be safe. So the spiritual life is that way. There's guidelines, and if you take the guidelines, it'll more, if it's a good spiritual tradition, it'll help navigate. The world's still going to continue doing what it's doing, but you will be in a position. You'll have the knowledge. We say freedom is in knowledge. You will have the knowledge to know what the right thing to do is when those things come up.
So just to conclude that, if I'm searching for the ultimate truth, and I've done so through all kinds of paths, whether it's TM, Ama group, pagans, Christianity, all kinds of Christians. I mean, if I'm searching for the ultimate truth, and I've gone to all these different paths, but I'm searching for that which is the ultimate, then, I'm looking back to this, and I'm hearing, like, even Krishna says in Gita, and you probably know the verse, Krishna says, I am something like the supreme absolute truth.
Yes.
By knowing me, you know that which is the cause of all causes.
Well, yeah, but more the verse that's appropriate for that is Krishna says to Arjuna, he says, when you actually get with this program, this is where it goes beyond the liberation thing. He says, established thus in the Krishna conscious philosophy where you're restoring a relationship with God. He says, established thus, one never departs from the truth. And after gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, he is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulties. Because you've got your feet on the ground. You're very, very confident in what's going on and what you're doing. Because you have real knowledge. You're not, like the purport of the verse we just read. Otherwise, you're just perplexed at every moment stuff's coming at you. So the question is, the myth of non-judgment, you're making judgments at every moment. The question is, what are you basing them on? And I'm going to end it with this. And I got all sorts of stuff, but I don't want to drag on too long. It's like people say, this is the myth of non-judgment, they say, I'll just know what to do spontaneously in the moment. Like some sort of an instinct, right? I don't know. I'll just intuitively know what the right thing is. And to those people I say, okay, how would you like it if, would you rather, if you get in an auto accident on the freeway, would you rather have somebody just driving down the road behind you just stops and, I'll know what to do at the right moment? Or would you rather have somebody who comes with the rescue squad, and these guys have been training what to do when you arrive on a crime, when you arrive on an accident? They know what to do. They take the paramedics. Thank you, the paramedics. You want a guy who knows what to do because he's trained and he understands. Oh, we got to do this. We got to keep his back straight. We got to make sure he gets air. We got to stop the bleeding. Blah blah blah. And they know exactly what to do. Instead of some Joe country guy saying, "Oh, I don't know, I'll just figure it out when I get there." Well, good luck with that. But that's what we're doing with our life. These people that are saying, "Oh, I don't know, I'll just know what to do. I'll just intuitively know it." No, you can prepare yourself and you can use your intelligence and you can actually gain wisdom so that when difficult issues in your life come up, you'll go, "No, wait a minute. What would Krishna do?" I mean, that's not a bad thing to think. Or what would Arjuna do?
So what do we base our judgment on?
On understanding what is being taught in the Bhagavad Gita. There's a whole chapter called The Three Modes of Material Nature. So if you go somewhere and you see somebody acting with the qualities of the mode of ignorance, you might say, probably not a good person to take instruction from.
Just a quick
Quickly.
answer ties both your question and yours right now together is between that first verse and that last verse is the answer. What should we base our
Thank you.
judgment on?
That's true.
The Bhagavad Gita.
This is all the trick
Here's
to
the
get.
wisdom. Now do what you're going to do. Now that you have the wisdom.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
This is basically a trick
Mayesvara just said.
to get everybody to buy a Bhagavad Gita and find out everything that's in the middle. One last thing, which Vajrayani told me about this story. I tried to find the story because I want to bring this back to this whole concept of myth and non-judgment. So, and I'm not sure where it is. I wasn't able to find it, but she paraphrased it enough and we kind of figured it out. So there was apparently an incident where 4 people got together and they plotted to kill somebody. And this is one of these really far out Indian stories that are buried in the Vedas someplace. And so they killed this person. And the person was brought to Duryodhana. Now, Duryodhana is, of course, the antagonist in the Bhagavad Gita. He's the big bad guy. Although, keep in mind, Duryodhana, even though we think of him as a bad guy, he was actually a very, very knowledgeable and powerful king. And he wasn't necessarily just, it wasn't like he was the kind of people we have today. He didn't have any knowledge of Vedic literature. He did. He had tremendous knowledge. It's just his ego and his pride and all this other stuff, lust, anger, and greed, as we saw on our screen here. He got overwhelmed with those things right there, lust, anger, and greed. But Duryodhana was a very knowledgeable, he was a very highly trained Brahmin in many ways. So when they brought him to Duryodhana, who was the current king, he said, "These 4 people plotted to kill this man. Vedic tradition is life for life. They should all be killed." There's no messing around in Vedic culture. Life for life, and there's a reason for that, because if they get killed, then they start the next life without having to go through the karma of being killed in their next life because they didn't get it in this life. So there's the capital punishment is basically part of the Vedic culture. So that's what Duryodhana ruled. So then they came and they said, Yudhisthira. They said, Yudhisthira. Now keep in mind, Yudhisthira was the head of the Pandavas. Yudhisthira was also known as Dharmaraj. Dharmaraj meaning the man who never told a lie, and Dharma meaning duty, Raj, the king of duty. So when anybody really didn't know what was going on, Yudhisthira was always the one they could go to, and he would tell them, according to Dharma, this is the right thing to do. So they went to Yudhisthira and they said, "Okay, Yudhisthira, what do you think should happen to these 4 guys?" So Yudhisthira kind of, does anybody have what does anybody want to make a suggestion what they would do? Okay, Duryodhana said, life for life, kill them all. So here's what Yudhisthira said. Yudhisthira said, well, wait a minute. These 4 guys, one of them was a Brahmin, one of them was a Kshatriya, one of them was a Sudra, and one of them was a Vaishya. And so he understood. The Brahmin, he knows better. He should die. The Kshatriya, he's a politician. He got sucked into something, and he's only interested in his pride. So what we really need to do is we need to exile him and expose him as a very bad leader. And that's basically just as bad, in many ways even worse than death. And frankly, for those people who understand that thing of dishonor is worse than death, the Kshatriya will probably just commit suicide if he gets dishonored. So that's how you punish the Kshatriya. Of course, the Vaishya, he's only interested in money making. He's only interested in a profit. And he might even have been bribed to do this crime. So he says that person, he should have, all of his wealth should be taken away. He should be made to serve the people the people who were the relatives of the person that got killed. And what did he say with the Sudra? The Sudra is just a laborer. He doesn't know any better. He's just supposed to serve the other castes. They just put him in prison and make sure he doesn't make that mistake again. Okay, so this is wisdom. Everybody gets the appropriate penalty for what happened based on the crime. And Dharma, so that's what Yudhisthira said. So these are again, the discussion tonight is the myth of non-judgment. When you hear it, next time somebody says, don't be so judgmental, stop and think, are they just saying that because they really don't want to take the time to learn what would be the proper thing to do? or because they're hanging out with somebody who says, it's okay, just do whatever you want. In the end, we all up in the same place anyway, you know. That's usually where that's coming from. And it might be the case of the lady on the train, and maybe it's appropriate to back off a little bit. But frequently, it's really gotten out of control. It's become really, really abused. Okay, we've had a few questions. Assuming everything's good. Oh, let's do the Prasadam prayer. And we'll have our dinner tonight. And where is the Prasadam prayer? Thank you all for coming. We hope if you've never been here before, you'll come back and join us and give us your email address if you want. We'll put you on the email so you'll remember when we're doing this. Now, keep in mind, what's this? We don't want this. Keep in mind, I think we're moving to 7 o'clock. I put that in the newsletter. So if you're used to coming here at 7:30, we're going to push it up to 7 o'clock. Everything's going to kind of be in the same sequence of events. It'll give us a little bit more time when we go over, because I don't really like having everybody eat late at night. It'll push it up a little bit earlier. We might integrate some more things in. I'm going to try something tonight when we get our food, if you want. I got these cards just recently. I was thinking it'd be kind of fun. We can each take a card, and if you want, you can talk about it a little bit. We'll see how that works. But for right now, let's do this. Please follow along if you know it, and if you don't, do the best you can, and we'll ask somebody to read it at the end. So, Saridara Vinchija Chitendriya Teka Jive Sale Sai Sagare Aramade Divayati Lovamoya Sturmati Take Jeta Katina Samsare Krishna Badadayamai Kariva Jivajai Swapashad Nadilavai Sayanamrita Pal Radha Krishna Kunagal Premidako Chitanitai Jai Nimai Nitai. Okay, who wants to have the honors tonight to read the English? Somebody want to do it? I know you want. Casey's done it a couple of times. Let somebody else do it tonight. Come on, somebody step forward. It's English. This isn't Sanskrit. Everybody should be able to read this real easily.
O Lord, this material body is a lump of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths to death. Somehow we have fallen into this ocean of material sense enjoyment, and of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world. But you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us and have given us such nice prasadam, just to control the tongue. Now we take this prasadam to our full satisfaction and glorify their lordships, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, and in love call for the help of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Very good. Thanks very much, Mark. That wasn't too bad. And here, of course, is Krishna with his friends having wonderful prasadam. And so we have Brajarani to thank for making one big wonderful feast that we're all going to go out there and have right now. So please get your plates, and if you've been here before, maybe we can get a couple small tables in here so that people have places to put their plates on. And if you want to have some more questions and stuff, we can talk about it a little bit now. But right now is the informal part of the evening. And like I said, if everybody comes on out, I think we'll have a little fun with this. We'll pass these cards around. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I think it'd be fun. And just speak for a minute on what the card means to you, because these are all verses in Bhagavad, and most of them should be pretty easy to follow. Okay, Hari Bol. Are we? Thank you for everybody in television land, or YouTube land. Come on down to the live show. We got studio seats. And thank you, Mark, for.
We had a couple people watching. We had
serious?
one person watching the whole thing, yeah.
Are you serious?
No, I'm serious.
Are you able to tell where it's from?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Now, how would they even know it was happening?
They might have just stumbled. We had we had 5 people come and go.
Wow.
They just see, because YouTube has a live section. They just see that there, and they go, "Oh, what's going on here?" But one guy stayed the whole time.
Can they let us know who they are if they want?